I'm seeing people taking down abandoned houses so it can be safer and nicer down here.
How does that make you feel?
Happy.
What's happening in this neighborhood is happening all over the city of Detroit. Within just the past year and a half, the city of Detroit has torn down more than 6,700 vacant and dangerous structures. The work is being led by the Detroit Building Authority. The DBA and its contractors knock down an average of between 100 and 150 eyesores every week. Brian Farkas is the DBA's Director of Special Projects.
We're going through the city, working in these areas, clustering all the demolitions at once.
The federal government determines where the city can spend federal dollars for demolition. Mayor Mike Duggan and Detroit's congressional delegation have been working hard to expand those boundaries and the funding so demo can happen in more neighborhoods. The city's knocking down more houses and moving at a faster pace than any other city in the country. And they're doing it while putting safety first. In fact, the Environmental Protection Agency praised Detroit's demolition program for having the best environmental practices in the country. Brian showed us step by step exactly how it's done, and it starts with neighbors.
We put door hangers on the neighboring properties like this, and then we'll put a yellow sign on that target house that's going to be demolished.
So that people know exactly what's happening in their neighborhood and where to go if there are any problems.
The door hangers that we have some very simple steps. Keep your doors and windows closed, keep pets and children inside, call the number above with any questions.
And once a house is chosen for demolition, the DBA and its experts find out what's in the house and what could be released into the neighborhood.
It's about a 2-week process. It's regulated by the state of Michigan. Before we go in and touch a house, we'll do an asbestos abatement survey. That tells us what hazardous material is in the house before we knock it. Once we get that survey back, we'll put it out to a competitively bid process. Multiple demo contractors will bid on a house or a package of houses, knowing what has to be removed before they do the demo.
After a contractor's chosen, they're required to do demo the Detroit way every single time.
We add the pre-wetting of the house before we knock it down. That was never done before, right? It adds about 15 minutes of work and no cost to the demo process by having a guy with a hose that can shoot water directly into the attic for about 5 minutes. It pre-soaks the entire top floor of the house, allowing that water to run down and kind of attack all the other dust that's in the attic, that's on the second floors, the first floor, all the way down. Then they open their nozzle up to create a mist that will actually envelop the dust when it hits. And so that doesn't add cost. You have to have a nozzle, you have to have 15 extra minutes on site. So we think it's very common sense steps. We have added steps, they're common sense, and they put Detroiters' health and safety first.
The DBA is even working with epidemiologists from the University of Michigan to measure what's being released in the air and ensure that safety remains the first priority.
It's an ongoing feedback process, which is really great. So we're continuously improving how we're doing things.
And people across the city say they see the difference.
Usually they used to just tear down houses and the dust used to fly everywhere.
But the DBA isn't just thinking about how houses are knocked down. How you clean them up is just as important. Terry Clark has lived in the city all his life and works with a trucking company transporting debris.
I have to cover my truck to keep the debris from flying out the truck as I travel to the landfill to dump the load.
What we understand is this isn't a construction site. This is a neighborhood. We are operating in a neighborhood. We're operating next to people's homes. So we go over and above to keep people safe.
And once the debris is gone, contractors are required to use a specific technique to fill in the hole.
One of the things we do is we'll actually cant the hole during the demolition process to make sure that if anyone falls in, they could walk right out.
And the area is secured with fencing and stakes made of reclaimed wood.
We started out using metal posts to fence off a hole because we don't want kids or animals falling into these holes. The metal stakes were being stolen. We switched to wooden stakes. Those were snapping. So now what we do is we require old-growth hardwood reclaimed stakes. It adds about $3 per stake onto the cost, creates 22 jobs in Detroit and Highland Park. And these stakes are painted a certain depth so they know how far to push them down. They're color-coded by contractor, and they ensure that Detroiters are getting the absolute best in terms of performance from their contractors.
It's going to make the neighborhood look very nice, very nice.
And if you ask people like Earlene Johnson, all those safety precautions make it all the better.
Do it the right way the first time, you won't have to worry about accidents later.
For more information on Detroit's demolition program and the status of houses in your neighborhood, visit the City of Detroit's website, detroitmi.gov.